Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the All or Nothing Invitationals number 2, €1,000 up for grabs. This is the second round, or the semi-finals, one of the float your boat. I am Pulse, and I am still buoyed by the C zone.
Boned as well, right?
Yes. We are below the watershed, C zone. Let's not go there for now.
So the first bans are coming out. Sona and Zilean getting banned. That Zilean kind of interesting. Apparently Fnatic doesn't quite want to run that, and they definitely don't want to give it to MYM. And on the other side we see Malphite and Rengar getting banned out. Malphite actually kind of surprising. We've not seen Malphite getting picked up that much lately. Now that is sort of interesting. Rengar, well, that's a pretty standard ban. He's kind of overpowered at the moment, and so is Dustplay, a very good Rengar. So you kind of have to ban that. And not banning out Jace, so that might be picked up here by Fnatic.
Kind of interesting, they actually banned out the Zilean, and that's coming from Fnatic, who actually hit him in the last round, so probably just not looking to run that composition and basically preventing the MYM team, Meteor Makers, from actually taking that composition themselves. Very interesting. Generally, if you just ban out one champion in a specific composition, there's nothing they can really do, because basically what you do, you basically look for your core couple champions and then build around it. So by taking that out of the equation, there's very little you can do. And once again, picking that Zyra, probably going to be support once again, could be that mid, but they are not picking that Ezreal, who will be left open. We have a couple interesting and very strong picks left open. As you mentioned before, we will have that champion that you were talking about, which has not been banned.
Jace,
yes, that one.
It actually kind of makes sense what they did here. So apparently they felt like Zyra was more important than Zilean, and if they pick one of the two, the other one's gonna get picked up by MYM for sure. Jaru plays a very good Zyra, and Zilean's just generally really strong, so every mid player will want to play him if they can. So they apparently wanted Zyra more than they wanted Zilean, and that's why they banned out Zilean. Makes a lot of sense. And on the other side we see Alistar and Ezreal getting picked up. So yeah, Ezreal, you already said, is kind of to be expected. Alistar, I'm not sure if it's gonna be a support or jungler. It is currently on the jungler spot, but they can obviously swap around, and since the headbutt nerf, the range got nerfed a bit, it's a lot less popular in the jungle, and I've seen them on support quite a bit. Again, hovering over that Caitlyn, I would be very happy to see that, because I like Caitlyn. Looks like we're going to get a Jace pickup. That would be unsurprising. There's going to be Caitlyn and Jace. Ooh, that's going to be cool already.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of picks recently which have been really centered around that early game and then scaling into mid game, but the problem is they generally scale off and towards the late game, but that doesn't really seem to concern that many teams, and we do see a lot of games nowadays ending very early on into the game, so maybe getting those early picks like Zilean, like the Gragas that we've seen a couple of times. He doesn't scale off as hard as a lot of the AP carries, but he does scale off to some extent with the damages, and yeah, definitely Caitlyn is considered to be an AD carry with definitely less steroids. So when it comes to that late game, she's obviously going to have slightly less damage. Obviously, all AD carries do a lot of damage because their items basically apply and multiply to themselves, so they do a huge amount of damage in comparison to those AP carries. But yeah, again, very interesting pick, and we have seen Caitlyn in a couple of these tournaments a couple times now, purely because of that mobility and the poking compositions that they like to go for.
And it could definitely go poke with this, because Jace pokes fairly well, and Zyra is a pretty long-ranged AP carry, so they could definitely go for a sort of pokey comp here. But at the moment, their picks are being very weird. The other side, though, we know for sure that there's going to be an Aurelia and a Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is an interesting pick against that Caitlyn, because Caitlyn is quite long range, should be able to stay behind minions perpetually. And Aurelia kind of makes sense. She's one of the few people that stands a chance against Jace. Interesting to see what they do with that. Looks like it's gonna be Skarner and Orianna. It's gonna be Skarner for sure, probably gonna be Orianna. Orianna does do quite well in it poke comp, I'd say. And because with that Jace and the Orianna, there are two AoE speed buffs for their team, that is a very good disengage right there. So that is probably the reason they picked that up. They could definitely be going for some kind of poke or siege comp here.
Yeah, that definitely does seem to be what's on the cards for them at the moment. I'm liking the Orianna and the Zyra sort of pickups here because Zyra is basically what a lot of people refer to as basically Orianna 2.0 with that sort of control, because you had that ball, basically people had to stay away from it because you had that distance, you had the shockwave as well, and the same with Zyra. When she puts down the plants, you don't want to get too near because you actually want to stand on top of them so you destroy them, but she can immediately put those plants up, and because when she supports, she'll still have the CC, so she still has a lot of base damage, but still the CC is really what pins people in place with those grasping roots and those, not the Thorn Spitters, but the other ones, the ones that slow at that melee range, is very, very difficult to contend with in that sort of zoning scenario during those turret sieges. And we could see a Kennen pickup, which we haven't. No, it's going to be Katarina, and everyone on Fnatic just pick Clarity and Surge. I'm probably not going to see that, but they are swapping up those summoners as we speak and swapping up those picks as well. So we wait a couple seconds before we take a look at any of those runes and masteries.
Nah, man, but I saw Hotshot on stream. He used Clarity on Karma. It was amazing.
Seems legit.
Yes. So we're gonna have that Katarina in the middle. Gonna be competing with the Orianna, and I'm very interested to see what happens. Candy Panda going for the promote, that could actually be a genuine pickup. They might be actually going for that. And as you said before, with those plans from Zara, what I wanted to add to that is that you also have the Caitlyn traps. So that actually gives some extra control as well. They could definitely block off an entire lane with those two things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Susan. They have this composition which they can push them back past their turret. They're so long range, they have the plants, they have the ball, and they have the traps. And then they have the Jace poke as well, and you've got Skarner to peel someone out. If they stay too far forwards, you've got the threat of Skarner to pull them out of this their comfort zone of their team. And if they fall back, they're losing their turret. So they're put in this sort of pincer position, and that's really, really nasty. Taking a look at the enemy team, though, we're talking about all doom and gloom and how this is going to pan out, basically, for Fnatic. But we really haven't seen what MYM, Meteor Makers, can do about it, and they have really hard initiation, and that's kind of the counter to basically the strong roaming and pokey composition. So they have the Blitzcrank. If they can get that pull, then basically can finish that person off really quickly and then go for that engage with the Alistar. But the problem is they don't have that longer range, so they really can't go for that initiate unless the Alistar has the flash up, so he's really going to have to save that flash if he's looking for that initiation that way. And Blitzcrank a lot of times can be fairly unreliable. He can be counterplayed with clever positioning, and generally if you're being sieged as well and pushed back, there's very little you can do in that situation.
One thing that's kind of interesting is that Kennypan actually switched to Exhaust at the last second. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It would make way more sense to have the Exhaust on the support and the Ignite on the AD carry, because Exhaust doesn't scale with levels and Ignite does. As well as the fact that if you're going to kill someone with Ignite, you'd rather have it be the AD carry. Then again, Zara does scale really well with AP, so if he gets a lot of money he might be switching to an AP build later on. Still though, I would have expected them to swap around if they're going to go for this summon the spell composition, so to say.
Yeah, but we will be jumping to a quick commercial break, and when we get back we will be in the second round, the semi-finals between Fnatic and MYM Meteor Makers. See you soon guys, stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, we are in the loading screen, and we're going to just quickly go for the skin war, because that's the most amazing thing ever.
God
We have
damn it.
Golden Alistar, which is really cool. We have Frosted Azrael, which is not Pulsefire Azrael, and therefore very cool as well. On the other hand, the Wildfire Zara is pretty cool. Built for the Katarina, though, that's cool. And Boom Boom Blitzcrank. I'm going to say that MYM wins the skin war, which they usually do in my experience.
What?
Yeah, MYM wins the skin war almost every time. Or at least that happened in the Fight for Pride tournament.
Well, you're racist against, like, Ezreal, dude. It's just like...
No, I'm racist against Pulsefire Azrael because...
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
even
It's just because it has my damn name in it. It's just like, oh, I hate it.
No, it's
Like, the
because
skin
it
should be
has...
banned from the game.
No, it's because it has the global announcements, which piss me off a lot.
They're amazing. It's a theme. What, like... You can't appreciate art season, that's the problem.
No, what happens is that as soon as he's level 6, like, True Ship Barrage activated. Oh, well, thank you. I had to know that... Oh,
But just in
wait,
case
no,
you didn't know. It's helpful.
No, it's annoying. Anyway, it looks like we might have a level 1 fight here by MYM. They do have the Alistar and the Blitzcrank, so that's already a very good level 1. And then Azrael has that Q, which basically refreshes cooldown. It's not entirely refreshed, but it's close to it. So that's a very good level 1 right there. Let's see if MYM is going to be going straight for that blue or going to be sneaky into Tribrush. Looks like they're going to go straight for that blue. Fnatic isn't anywhere close though, so I'm not sure if MYM is going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, so they have snuck past that ward, but they are just going to go ahead and recall. That's generally what you want to be doing. Actually, the area is secured, so they might actually just stay. I'm not sure if this is the best of the decision. We do have a movement from Fnatic.
Yeah,
I
and he has
expect
that
they're
ball,
going to be
so he
on the
can
front
face check with
lines.
that, and he will be doing that. So nothing going to happen. Poor MYM.
Yeah, right now they committed a lot of time. We do have that jungle Alistar as well. Interesting to see where he's really going to start, because generally we will have this start from blue, usually, with Alistar, and pings going down all over the map onto the different parts of the jungle. Looks like bottom lane... Okay, just going to back off into the lane, and Alistar may be starting blue. Red, sorry. This could be interesting. Generally, you do need Alistar starting on that blue for the sustain, but he can go red into the blue. He'll just lose a lot of health, because he doesn't really have an incredibly sustained jungle in that early game. He wants to be ganking basically as soon as possible, and basically making up for the really weaker clear for the amazing ganks he has early game.
Well, with the rep off, you will probably be able to gank better, and I think he's just going to be going for an early gank top. That's probably what he's going for. And they see now that Jace is bought, they're going to be possibly going for it. The gate comes out, this is going to be enough though. The pull comes in, he's going to have to flash away. So has already burning flash. That is not something that you really want to do. And he's now going for his blue, so disregard what is said about ganking top. I have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, he's going to take a lot of damage and sustain a lot of damage from this blue buff, because basically, okay, he's not going to get a pull either, so he's going to be taking out this blue buff, but yeah, huge damage is going to come out. They have indeed swamped up the lanes, guys, so we didn't mention that just before. We will have Candy Panda on that Caitlyn, plus the N-rated on the Zyra up at that top lane, so looking to push this down very, very quickly, or maybe just looking to zone this Irelia. And those are the two objectives with that lane, but at the moment Irelia just can't even get near the creep. She can't really afford to take too much damage and before she really gets some of those points into hidden style. So as did indeed go back, because he did sustain some damage from that bot lane. And generally when you do the swap up, you're looking for your own lane to do better. And I'm not entirely convinced that Jace is. Okay, he burst the flash, which he didn't want to be doing anyway, and that wasn't like in the books, that wasn't planned. And as you were saying, it was really nasty for him to have that early game. But even so, against this sort of composition, it's going to be very difficult for him, and we will actually have some assistance from Cyanide. But he's actually going to just think otherwise and just back off and farm his jungle.
It is actually kind of ironic that they're doing this, because this is something that MYM really likes to do. They like to go for lane swap, push Santara, lane swap back, and then push the other tower. That's what they do a lot. So maybe that's exactly what Fnatic is going for, and using their tactics against themselves. Could be interesting to see what happens with that. Right now Makat is near the top lane with that double buff. That's another good thing about it. You usually want to gank top and make your bruiser snowball, but because they can put down a lot of wards at the top lane, that will be a lot harder for that Alistar to gank. So that might be part of it as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be way harder for Alistar to gank. And probably at bottom, it's harder for him to dive early. So the only real lane he can gank is mid. And basically, Katarina has next to no CC. Generally doesn't matter because the CC King Alistar can provide all of it himself. But then again, mid is pushing. So I think the best bet for Alistar right now is to go mid. but he really does need to help his lane. Meanwhile, at bottom, we will have an initiate from Cyanide. Back goes out by Libic, knocked against the wall. Cyanide following up with those crystal slashes. Ignite goes down as well, looking for the follow-up from that SOAS. We will have first blood picked up by Jace. That has brought him back into that lane. And definitely that will really be helping him out. That lane gank bottom really helped out. And maybe that was the idea, because it's going to be way easier for Scons to be ganking, whereas at top they're going to be pushing, but at that purple side is way harder to gank at that top lane, especially with those wards. McCat also looking to deal some hurt onto this lane, but really just sustain himself against the onslaught, which is not really helping too much at the moment.
That was actually very interesting what happened. I just quickly replayed it. SOAS bashed Libic into the wall at the moment Libic flashed. So he did flash, but he got knocked back into a wall, which was kind of buggy, kind of annoying for him, because if the flash had gone off properly and he wouldn't have gotten knocked away, he would have gotten out quite easily. But that knockback from the Jace coming out just in time.
Yeah, perfectly timed to just interrupt that animation, and we will have potential gank on the cards, meanwhile mid, and lots of damage coming out from that shock blast through the acceleration gate. Right now, SOAS really can't be at bottom because it's way too pushed, so he's just going to go ahead, gank mid, and just go back. Just apply some pressure all over the map, and it really shows, and it really is indicative of this really strong pushing power from the hands of Fnatic, and that's what they're looking for. As a dive happens at top, we will have Cyanide booming onto this one. Crystal Splash comes out into the slow as well. N-rated tanking some damage from Cubon, but that will be easily picked up by Candy Panda as Cyanide comes out of the tank as well. N-rated dropping very low, but they will be able to push this one in. And Katarina also moving top, looking to maybe claim some kills. Mid, we will have Alistair just sitting in there, soaking up some XP. He kind of needs it at the moment. His early ganks haven't really been successful, and that's really what you need. Meanwhile, top we have Cesaru jumping onto Candy Panda. Great grasping route. We'll lock him down just for a quick second. Flash goes out into the exhaust from Candy Panda. Another exhaust comes down behind Cesaru. And whether he'll trade or not, he doesn't have the level 6. Candy Panda still trading off into the Shumpo to the Sinister Steel. And huge damage coming out from the Piltover as well. Extra damage reduction from that creep. I think if it had gone straight past the creep, that would have been a kill right there.
With a level 6 Charu right now, he might be able to jump in and finish off with his ultimate. If only Candy Panda had his ultimate, that would have been a kill for sure. But looks like Naruto is going to go down as Candy Panda moves back to base. Charu quite low though. We'll have to choke all his health pots to be able to do something in lane. Level 6 is on Peke as well. Peke might be able to pick up a kill there if they go for it. And I saw Pingy for damage somewhere. Probably so as just poking down on Needs here. Needs taking a lot of damage. Is below half health. Not doing too well in that 2v1 situation.
Yeah, so just taking a look at the item builds as well, we have wards pretty much all over the hands of Fnatic. We just had the ward placed down by SOAS as well, pretty much everyone apart from the Skarner, which is kind of ironic because you are looking for those support junglers, which Skarner essentially is to get those wards, but he probably just places them down as well. But yeah, it really does show how much they're looking to bring home the strong sort of roaming, and especially with Caitlyn bringing up the wards as well. You don't see the AD carries bringing that up too much because you are looking for the raw damage. They are your raw sustained damage output, and you don't want to be delaying the item builds. But definitely with this composition that they're running, this sort of a strong early game pushing and into the mid game as well, getting to that roaming phase makes a lot of sense. And they are looking to really just push home this early game strength they have with the composition. Right now they are about 2k ahead, they have those 2 kills, so they are doing well with it, but they really just need to push home this composition.
Yeah, and we usually see if they can keep going for this. They kind of have to do something here, but they are 2k ahead at the moment. MYM is taking a lot of pressure, and I think that Fnatic should be able to keep this up. Gonna keep pushing that top tower. The top tower is almost down, it's only 300 health, so they should be able to pick that up in just a minute or two. And there's actually a Doran shield on Cubon. Cubon not enjoying this lane at all. And Fnatic, as you said before, if you do a lane swap, you kind of want your lane to come out better. The towers are going to go down almost at the same time. But if you look at the farm of what is normally top lane, it's 50 for SOAS and 20 for Cubon. That's a really big difference. Right now they're going to be aggressing on towards him. He's going to QQ to the minions. Oh, that was really well played. I have to say, that was excellently played by Cubon there. And in the meantime, really that bot, there's going to be an impale on towards Needs. There's going to be so much damage on SOAS. Jumps on towards him. That's the flash in to knock him against the wall. The ignite is on him. Is he going to be going down? Yes, he will. SOAS is going to be able to pick up that kill. And that's going to be 3-0 for Fnatic. Well done there.
Yeah, they are starting to pull ahead now, and this is kind of what they need. And jumping back to that Irelia play as well, summing up the situation, seeing what minions she could jump to was really, really well played. And she just juked them so hard with that nice double blade surge. And miss Zaru doing some hurt onto XPK. Gotta be careful though, he does have the ultimate. We will have no gap potentially being caught. Stranglethorns goes down into the Unbreakable Will as well. You have the trap placed in front, but he will walk over before actually sets off. And into Ace in the hole. Unbreakable Will be ticking off, but we will have an acceleration gate into the Shock Blast as well. Another kill onto Cesaru, picked up by XPK. And Blitzcrank will be just trying to stem the flow of the storm. 5-man push from Fnatic right now. Yeah, honestly, Libic, I'm not rating your chances very high in this matchup.
Yeah, the two wards are in that small brush as well, so Fnatic having excellent vision over there. Don't know what happened to communication there, but they're going to be able to pick up at least one mid tower. Looks like they're going to be going for the second one as well. And honestly, this is the kind of play that I normally see from MYM, so it's kind of interesting to see that Fnatic is doing it this time. I know that Fnatic lost to MYM a few times when MYM did stuff like this. And it's turning the tables here.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this in the break as well. I haven't casted MYM for quite a while, especially not since the sort of, as I like to call it, the Korean meta has kind of hit the EU and NA scene, where you have the strong pushing power with mobility and the pokerless sieging, where you basically try to build momentum as fast as possible into the game. And I really haven't seen MYM pick that up myself, but obviously C-Zone, you were saying that you have. I have seen this from a couple of other teams, and this is definitely what Fnatic are really looking to bring home. Katarina pick, once again, we've seen from a lot of players. We'll have a chase from Sowers looking to lock down the Cesaru, but we'll keep him live from the Jumpo. But I don't know. Katarina is very, very situational, and whether she really has a lot of CC on the team. Obviously, Alistair into the Blitzcrank is so much CC, but they have a lot to lock him down on the enemy team. We have the knockback from Soaz, Cyanide with the suppression, and we have the shockwaves from Orianna as well, and the Stranglethorns. I don't know, can she actually get a full ultimate off? Can she get her combo down before she's just completely locked up?
The thing about new Katarina is that she doesn't really need to get her ultimate fully off. If you get like part of it off, it's already doing a lot of damage. And I actually rarely see Katarina ultimates going full duration, but they usually do pretty well if they have a competent player. And Charu definitely is a competent player, but at the moment, it's just that his entire team isn't doing too well. And he's actually farming quite well, considering he's Katarina against an Orianna with only 10 CS, well 15 CS difference. That's pretty decent, I have to say. It's not that much of a gap between them.
Yeah, definitely. Orianna have the capability to farm really well, though. Like, she can farm the all the wraiths and stuff with ease. That being said, so can Katarina, and obviously she's been bullied in lane. We are looking for the transition, really, from MYM, and I'm not really convinced that they will have it. Like, they do have a lot of damage from the base damages. Obviously, everyone on the enemy team, that being MYM, does have a lot of base. But the fact that Fnatic are scaling so well, and is really looking for the team play right now, and they will be pulling in that end-rated from Livy. Great hook. That's coming in as well into the Stranglethorns. XPK looking to retain some kills here. Shockwave guns out into the passive from Zara, picking up that double. Wow. That support going to be really happy with that one. We will have a couple of things coming down.
Getting a lot of damage on the Igniters on him. Is going to be going down. No, the heal or the health bot going to be able to save him here. Cyanide now looking for the damage on Cat. Is he going to get impaled? No, he won't. Great headbutt coming out. And Charu actually getting away. That was very close. Great health bot there, I guess.
Yeah, this is something a lot of players kind of neglect as well. It's good to keep a couple health pots on you just so you can pop it in that sort of pressure situation when you're in that trade. And honestly, it really does pay off. Over the course of like a fight, that can be an extra 50 HP, even up to the full duration of 150, which could potentially save your life. Like, sometimes when you see people escaping on like 10, 50 health or something, it's like, oh, that's a looker. Well, no. Some of it is really down to the calculation of the player, like how much damage they can take, and also the health pot really comes into play as well. So that's something just to keep in mind when we come into these sort of close clutch plays and these tight sort of comebacks from these players who escape on very low health.
Yeah, so as we have just passed the 1337 mark, we are currently at about 7k difference in favor of Fnatic. Fnatic doing so well. Out farming in every single row except for, oh, the jungler and the support are almost equal. But then mid, top and the AD carry are all out farming their opponents. For Fnatic, they're doing so well, and they're 4-1 in tower, 7-1 in kills.
Meanwhile, bottom,
doing
Sana
so well.
jumping onto Knights at bottom, have got the Impale coming out into Ace in the hole, picking up that kill very easily. Kind of unnecessary, but classy at the same time, so it's absolutely fine. But a 5-man strong push at bottom for the Fnatic team. We will have Cesaro pushing up that top as well. But Katarina not really renowned for her amazing pushing ability. Meanwhile, we do have this 5-man push and the shield from Xpeke keeping him alive, and the plant tank as well. Kind of reminiscent of the triple ward push that we used to have at level 1.
Oh, those things were awesome.
Those were good times, weren't they, C-Zone? But we will have a tower picked up by Cubon, looking for a push in mid as well. Sana stepping that fly, but we will have a strong push still at bottom, maybe looking for this inhibitor turret as well. Ezreal also there to try and stop this from happening, but if he can do it against this 4-man push with a strong poke as well, this is what we were talking about. The strong push coming into play and the strong sort of control and zoning capability. Cubon trading off with Cyanide, and Cyanide forced that off. He really can't trade with that Aurelia, but he can counter-initiate like a boss with that Crystal Slash. And the Crystal Exoskeleton as well. This will be an inhibitor going down because honestly right now MYM are just not reacting well to the situation. It's just like they saw the push, good call from Fnatic, and it's just like, oh, what do? We space out, maybe push some turrets, but Scarlet was enough to basically stem that flow and quell the storm as it were. And they haven't been able to push. Like, they've invested a lot of time into doing what is essentially nothing, while the Fnatic team just pushed down bottom and took, what, 2 turrets and an inhibitor for free.
Yeah, and something that I actually forgot to mention, or actually I kind of didn't notice, is that Fnatic has 4 ranged characters. That gives so much pushing power. Like, I hadn't even thought of that, and Libic now taking so much damage, will be going down almost instantly. And Raider gonna be flashing forward, going for the Stranglefoot, who's gonna pick that up. Or actually Chara going down to Peke here, but so much damage coming out. And they're going to keep pushing because they have 2 down on the enemy team. They took down Blitzcrank, who is pretty much their hardest engage. And they're going to be able to pick up this mid inhibitor turret pretty much for free. I think that if it was after 20 minutes at the moment, MYM would have probably surrendered. But it's still 16-30 and there's already such a big difference between the teams. 10k advantage for Fnatic, taking down 2 inhibitors. I think this is pretty much over, to be really honest.
It's 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes into the game, and we have 2 inhibitors down. How often does that happen? And now they're pushing onto the Nexus turrets. This is such a ridiculous push right now from Fnatic. And we're looking for this engage from MYM, but they're just not going for it. They're being pushed back to their, basically, what is their fountain, and they just can't do anything about it, and I think they've just given up at this stage. Zara jumping in, looking for the Death Lotus, will not be locked up, but absolutely instantly gibbed. Who cares about the CC when you can blow up the Katarina instead? And that will be the Nexus falling at around 17-15.
And that pool looked really biggy. As the Impel comes out, Shockwave comes out, but it's not going to pick up anyone. The Axe is going to be exploding, and that's going to be the first game won by Fnatic. Really well done there. I mean, they just played dominantly during the entire game, and I don't know, like, it was kind of dominant play in every single lane. Every lane won, and they just took down tower so quickly. And kind of doing what MYM likes to do against other teams. Fnatic kind of doing that themselves. So well played by them, and that means they are 1-0 in a best of 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is indeed the best in this semi-final. Same for the finals, so we will be moving on to that second round. Maybe MYM looking for a different composition this time, because that really didn't go well for them. Basically, everything we said about the Fnatic composition basically just came true, and MYM had no answer to it. So definitely a swap up could be in the cards. We are waiting for that to happen. So yeah, kind of crazy for that first round of the semi-finals.
Yeah, so we're going to be back in a few minutes. I have to go into a quick ad break. We're going to quickly plug our Facebooks because, you know, you might want to like us on our social media. I'm Season, and you can find me on facebook.com/SeasonOwned with a 0 and a Z at the end. And we can find Mr. Pulse where?
At facebook.com/WatchYourPulse, likewise for my YouTube.
So we're going to be going into the outbreak right now. We'll be back with you guys in just a few minutes, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the rest of the 4PL All or Nothing.